Mr. Bock, before you sit down, I'll ask you to raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth under penalty for perjury?
I do.
Okay, you can go ahead and sit down. Please try to keep your voice up so that we can all hear you.
Good morning. Can you state your full name and spell it for the record?
Zachary Christopher Bock, Zackery, Christopher Bock.
Okay, thank you. How did you know Dee Warner?
Dee was my mom.
Okay. How close were you with your mom?
Extremely close. We talked, saw each other just about every day.
All right. Explain that to me. How did you talk to her?
We'd talk through text message, phone call, Snapchat, or we'd see each other in person.
All right. How often did you see each other in person?
I worked for her, so I worked there at the farm. So I typically saw her Monday through Friday,
All right.
sometimes on the weekends as well.
All right. Did you know Dale?
I did,
All right. And that would be your stepdad?
yes.
All right. What was your relationship with him like?
My mom's partner.
Okay. And you said you worked at the business. Which business did you work for?
All three.
All right. So
I was paid out of one, but I did work for all three companies.
which business were you paid out of?
DDW Investments.
All right. Tell me about, you said there's three businesses. What are the businesses?
There's DDW Investments, which was the trucking company. Wareg Farms, which was the farm operating company that farmed ground, corn, beans, that type of thing. And then there's Wareg Farm Services, which was the chemical fertilizer company that was selling products to third parties, other farmers.
Okay. And the Warag Farms, that farmed land?
Yes,
All right. And how many acres of land, approximately?
roughly 3,000.
All right. Are these, the land that's being farmed, is this owned or leased?
Both.
Okay. And what about Warag Services? What did they do?
Wareg Farm Services was the chemical fertilizer company, so that was buying the chemicals or fertilizer from the supplier, turning around and selling them to other farmers and using for themselves as well.
Okay. And DDW Trucking, where did they do business?
As far as like location,
Trucking, yep. Where did they truck?
all over the place. There was trucks that went in and out of Canada. There was trucks in Illinois, kind of all over. I'd say a couple of states surrounding the state of Michigan.
All right.
It wasn't like they were going to California or anything like that, but
Okay. How many employees between the businesses were working on the farm?
for just the farm or the
For all the businesses?
All the businesses together.
Correct. So let me clarify. Good question. The farm, so you said you worked for your mom every day. Was that business located on the farm?
yeah, all three businesses operated out of the same office.
Okay. And so how many employees between all three companies were there?
Less than 20.
Okay.
20.
Tell me, in April of 2021, who the major trucking employees were?
Each name?
If you can remember the trucking employees that you dealt with on a regular basis.
There was Todd, Terry, Mark, Kelly, I'm sorry, I'm drawing a blank on the rest.
Okay. What about the farming business? Who were the employees for farms that you saw on a regular basis and you dealt with in April of 2021?
There was Ivan, Jim, Jaren, Stephanie, she worked in the office with me, and Dale.
Okay.
There was some random other people that might come in for helping with certain things, but
Okay. When you say Ivan, is that Ivan Boyd?
yes.
And Jim, do you know his last name?
Hawkins,
Okay. And Jaren,
Warner.
did you know a Jason Gravel?
The name sounds familiar, but I can't say that for sure.
Not somebody you would have interacted with every day?
No. I didn't really interact with a lot of the people that worked there. I mainly was in the office. I dealt with them, maybe communicated over the phone, but most of even the truckers were actually handled by Stephanie.
Okay. And Stephanie, did she work in the office with you?
She did.
All right. How long did Stephanie work there?
We both started there about the same time. I had worked there when I was in high school, but had left and was doing my own stuff. And then when my mom and Dale had fired Mark Weisberg, I came back. I want to say it was about 2017.
Okay. So you and Stephanie both started around 2017?
Yes.
All right.
Probably within about a month of each other.
Did your mom employ any housekeepers?
Several.
Okay. What about in 2021?
The one that I knew mostly was Maddie Wolf.
Okay. Did you know if your mom took in any foreign exchange students at any point in time?
She did. Her name was, and we called her Jade. How her actual name is pronounced, I don't know, but she was from Italy.
Okay. What year was that, if you recall?
Probably 2015, 16, somewhere around there.
Okay. So I believe you indicated you were with your mom just about every day. Do you know what her habit was with her phone? As far as keeping it with her, putting it, not having it?
Attached to her hand? Yes.
All right. Were there times that you attempted to call her?
Excuse me.
That's okay. Were there times you ever called or texted your mom that she didn't respond to you?
The only time that she's never responded to me was when she was killed.
Okay. What about her keys for her Cadillac? Do you know what she did with those?
They were typically in her pocket.
All right. And do you know if she kept that Cadillac locked?
Usually it was locked, yes.
Okay. And do you know what was kept inside the Cadillac?
So mom carried her phone case was her, I'm going to say, day-to-day wallet. It had a little flap that opened up to protect the screen, and you could put like your driver's license, your credit card, and stuff like that kind of right inside of it. But she also had like a small purse. I think it's called a clutch.
Okay.
She had a bigger purse that was like an actual bag, but she very rarely, I think the only time she would typically use that really big purse was like a Black Friday sale when her, my sisters, my aunts, they would go shopping.
Okay.
But typically she only used her wallet that was attached to her phone, and then that little clutch purse thing that was usually left in her car.
Okay. With you being around the day-to-day activities on the Warner property, on the farm there, did you observe your mom and Dale fighting?
Just about every day.
Okay. Do you know the basic topic of the arguments?
Typically the fights were related to money and something related to one of the businesses.
Okay. When was the last time that you talked to your mom? Whether in person, phone?
The Saturday before. So I think that's the 24th.
Okay. Where'd you see her at or talk to her? How'd you talk to her?
I briefly seen her, I think it was Saturday morning at my sister Amber's. I had kind of just swung by and I think maybe had a cup of coffee, and my mom was coming to pick up Lena, and about the same time that mom had gotten there was about the same time I was leaving, so I might have said hi. But throughout the rest of the day I had talked with her. We were texting back and forth. She was having some issues with two of the truckers, and then we were also talking about a friend of ours, a friend of mine and a friend of hers had passed away.
Okay. And does your mom at any point in time tell you that she has any kind of plan for that night?
Yes, she was done with everything. She didn't want to do the trucking company anymore. She didn't want to be with Dale anymore. She wanted to sell everything and be done.
All right.
One point during the text conversation, she said, "I'll sign it all over to you and you can deal with it. I'm done."
Okay. And how long have you been as close as you were to your mom in 2021? How long were you guys that close?
We had always been really close. I had started working originally for the farm when I was still in high school in like 2009, I believe.
Okay.
And had kind of worked on and off. Whenever they needed somebody else, I was there.
Okay. Had you heard her say that she wanted to do those things before?
Leave Dale and sell everything? Yes.
Okay. So after she says, you know, I'm gonna have a conversation with Dale later, do you text her, call her, anything later that night?
We had continued to text most of the evening.
Okay. When was?
She was telling me about the fight and what the employee had said to her.
All right. Approximately what is the last time that you get a text message from your mom, if you can recall?
7 or 8 o'clock.
At 9
At
p.m.?
night.
All right. Some point on Sunday, do you come over to the farm?
Yes, my sister Raquel had, I don't remember if she had called me or texted me. I believe she had called me that morning and asked if I knew where Mom was. She said that both of her cars were at home and she couldn't find Mom anywhere.
Okay.
And asked if I knew where she was. And I said, no, I'll text her and then I'll come on over.
Okay.
So I got off the phone with her and called, or tried to call Mom. It went straight to voicemail, and then I think I had sent her a couple of text messages and was just starting a conversation. I think the first one was something like, "How was your night?" or "How you doing today?" or something like that.
Okay. So.
But nothing ever went through.
All right. During the course of your mom's marriage to Dale, do you know if she would leave for a day or two?
Yeah.
All right. Where would she typically go?
Typically, she came to my house.
Okay.
She came to Amber's house, I know, a couple of times. She's gone to my Aunt Shelley and Uncle Greg's house a couple of times.
Okay. So it wouldn't be uncommon for her to show up at your house?
No.
Okay. How long would she typically stay?
Day, maybe 2.
And so then your sister Raquel calls you. What do you do after you talk to her?
So I think I went and took a shower and got in the car and went to my mom's house.
Okay. What'd you do when you got to the house?
I first went down to the office. I remember seeing my mom's Hummer sitting there, which was a little weird because she had been driving the Cadillac mostly. And then I went into the office, kind of just ran through, I guess, all of the rooms that were there, looking to see if I could see Mom or anything, if Mom had been there. And then walked back out of the office, walked up towards where Terry, the truck driver that Mom was in the argument and fight with the night before, was supposed to come clean his truck out. So I went up to check to see if Terry had cleaned his semi-truck out.
Okay.
Climbed up the little ladder, opened the door to the truck. The truck was still full of belongings. Got back down, started to walk back up towards the house, and that's when Dale came up to me somewhere in the driveway and asked if I knew where Mom was, if I knew where she was going to be, anything, and I said no, and we both proceeded to walk back down to the office.
Okay, I'm going to stop you. So when you first get to the Munger property and go to the office, is there anybody on the property with you?
When I first walked through the office, there's people on the property, but nobody's like walking with me, no.
Okay. And to the best of your knowledge, was Dale there when you got there?
I believe so.
Okay. Do you know if he got there at any point after you arrived, or you're not?
I don't know. The
Okay.
first actual time that I saw Dale was when we met in that driveway, right after I had looked at the semi-truck.
Okay. And then you both walk down to the office together?
Correct.
What do you do when you get down to the office?
As soon as we walk in the office door, we take a right, I was going to go look at the server room, which is on the back, this back little hallway thing next to the bathroom. And Dale started to walk into the next door, which was his office. So as I took a left to go down the hallway towards the server room and the bathroom, Dale was standing in his doorway, and before I got to the server room, all I hear was, am I allowed to swear?
Say what happened.
Aw, fuck. And I turned around, and Dale's standing there holding my mom's wedding ring in his hand in the doorway.
Okay.
And so then from there, I walked back around over to my mom's desk where her computer is connected to the camera system. So instead of looking at it on my phone, I can look at it on the big screen. And I started to get on the cameras to see, well, if Dale's holding her wedding ring, she came into the office at some point, so maybe I can see her on the cameras and what time that might have been.
Okay. So did you start looking at the camera systems?
I did, and I stayed in the office trying to look on the camera system for a little while. I couldn't tell you exactly how long, but the whole time Dale stayed right here.
Was it the whole time, or was he in and out, or?
Whenever he was right next to me, he was right here.
Okay.
He would go walk over to his office. He walked in and out of the office building itself multiple times. He kept saying, "Oh, I'm going to go back to work. I'm going to go over and do this," but then he never did. He'd come right back in.
Okay. And at this point in time, when you're looking at cameras and Dale's in and out, who else is in the office with you?
At some point, my sister, my aunt, and my brother, my sister Raquel, had all come into the office. At some point, I believe Raquel's boyfriend Dustin had actually also come in there, I believe.
Okay. And how long did you stay at the office looking at cameras?
I couldn't tell you an exact amount of time.
All right. What'd you do after you were done looking at the cameras?
So at the rest of that day, I had gone through and I went and drove to look at the other properties that they owned that had structures on them. So like there's a house around the corner that used to be rented to Stephanie that we were selling at the time, and I had it for sale. So I thought, well, she walked somewhere, her cars are here, maybe she walked and is staying in that house. So I drove up to that house, opened it up, nobody was inside. I drove over to the Cedar Point property in Onstead to see if maybe she was there somewhere hiding out. I went back to my own house. She had a code to be able to use the front door, figuring, well, maybe somebody picked her up and they went to breakfast and now she's back at my house hiding out. She wasn't there. I came back to the farm once again I think I just drove by or drove through, or maybe I talked to my sisters. But then I had proceeded to then go to Britain to the grain bin setup. See if there was any sign of her there. When I couldn't find her anywhere, when I was leaving Britain on my way back through in Tecumseh, I called a friend of ours, Officer Paul Wolf, for the Tecumseh Police Department.
Okay. And based on that conversation, what did you do next?
I told him what was happening, what I was feeling like, and he said, then you guys need to call the state police.
Okay.
So I got off the phone with him. I called my siblings. I said, hey, this is what Paul said. Can we meet at my house, and we're going to call someone.
All right. Now, prior to leaving the Munger farm, did you have a conversation with Dale, or were you part of a conversation with Dale about potentially calling the police earlier?
I think when we were all in the office and I was still looking at the computer, or at the camera stuff on the computer, that had been brought up a couple of times.
Okay. And do you know what his response to that was?
If we haven't heard from her in the next day or so, we'll give him a call.
Okay. All right. So you get off the phone with Officer Wolf, and you make contact with police?
I made contact with my siblings first. My sister Raquel and my brother TJ and I all met up at my house, and we Googled the state police number. It sent us to a dispatch. The dispatch sent us to the sheriff's department. The sheriff's department said that they would send out a deputy, and I think it was, I can't remember his first name, but Deputy Hall.
Okay. And Did you in fact give him a statement?
We did.
All right. And the following day, well, let me back up. Did you have any further conversations with Dale when you were at the farm?
After we had called the,
Before you called the police, while you were there, and he was in and out of the office, did you have any further conversations with him on the Munger property?
not that I can recall.
Okay. All right. So, when's the next time you come back to the Munger property?
The next morning.
Okay, what time?
I don't know the exact time. It would have been the morning, like starting a regular workday.
So Monday
So probably
morning.
somewhere around 9 a.m.
Okay. And what'd you do when you got there?
Usually the first thing that I would do in the mornings was always check the credit card, the company credit card, to both make sure that the truck drivers were able to keep operating and getting fuel and everything off of that card, but also to check to see if there had been any usage on my mom's cards.
Okay, and did you notice anything?
No.
At some point during that day, did you have contact with a detective?
At some point that day, the sheriff detective Greca had reached out to me, called me, and we met up. I had told him that I was planning on going to TLC, our bank, my mom and I's bank, and I was going to see if I could get anybody at TLC to tell me if there had been any activity on my mom's bank account.
Okay, and did you in fact meet with Detective Greca at
We did. We
TLC?
met at the Tecumseh branch.
All right. And did you learn if were these accounts that you shared with your mom?
No. Well, my mom and I had a shared account, but my mom had her own personal accounts as well, and then there was a business account there.
Okay.
I was trying to see if TLC would tell me anything about her personal account, not the joint account. The joint account I had access to.
Okay. And did you find anything?
They wouldn't tell us. They told us no, there wasn't any activity on the card, or on her cards or her accounts.
Okay. And once you left the bank, what did you do after that?
Detective Greca and I drove separately, but we went back to the farm. He wanted to talk with Dale, so I took him to the farm. When we pulled into the back of the house, and we're standing on the back deck. I went into the house to see if Dale was inside, and then I looked out back, and you could see Dale in one of the pieces of tillage equipment working in the field. So I called him and said there was a detective here that wanted to talk to him, and Dale came up and spoke with him. When Dale got there, I left.
And you left at that point, okay.
Yes.
So I kind of forgot to ask you about this big piece. So at some point in time, you lived on the Warner farm at your mom's house?
Several times.
All right. And did you have a bedroom?
I did.
And did you have what was in the bedroom?
Bed, dresser, a safe,
All right. And what was
clothes.
what was the purpose of the safe? Was that just yours, or?
My mom had bought it for me with the intention of her using it.
Okay. So did you both share it, or how did that work?
Kind of. I put what I considered important documents in there, like my birth certificate and my passport that I had. I had put those in there, and Mom was putting cash and whatever other things that she wanted to save in there.
Okay. And to your knowledge, did anybody else have access to that safe?
Just my mom and I.
All right. Here, I'm going to approach the witness with People's Proposed Exhibit 23. So I showed you a photograph of a safe. Is that correct?
Yes.
And is that similar to the safe that you owned?
Yes.
All right. Thank you.
killed me. Good morning, Mr. Bock. I just have a few questions for you today. So you said you had lived at the Munger property with Mr. and Ms. Warner, your mom?
Yes.
About how long did that happen?
There was several times that I had, I was in high school, I lived there. I had moved out, and then at some point, probably in, I think it was 2013, 2014, I had moved back in. And then again, probably 2017 to 2019, somewhere in there.
So for a number of years, you indicated that you saw fights between your mom and Mr. Warner, and I'm assuming like verbal fights or disagreements, things like that.
Yes.
Would your mom raise her voice at Mr. Warner?
They would raise the voice at each other all the time, yes.
So raised voices with the two of them verbally arguing, is that accurate?
Correct.
Was that for pretty much the entirety of the time that you had lived there, or was that a more recent thing?
Most of the time that I lived there, I can't actually remember a time that I never didn't hear them fight. The fights definitely got more frequent later, but I think they always had kind of fought.
Okay, so from the start of the relationship, from what you remember, there were verbal arguments and disagreements?
Yes.
Now, when you lived at Munger, did you have, or even when you didn't live there, did you have a key, or was that door locked and you were able to come in?
I had a key, but the doors were never locked. I had a key when, after my mom and Dale had Lena, about every March, when Lena's birthday was, they would take Lena down to Florida, and they were usually gone for an extended period of time, and I was the one that would watch the house, so Mom had given me a key. It actually happened to be the same key for the office.
When they would go for an extended period of time, would they lock the house, or would it be open?
Sometimes they'd lock it. Sometimes they'd lock all the doors except for this one door.
And when you would go into the Munger house, just in general, so you're going over to see your mom, would you walk in or would the door be locked?
I just walked in.
When you worked for the companies that you indicated, your job was in finance, is that accurate? So bookkeeping, paying bills, invoices, things like that?
Yes.
Now, did that include paying all the bills, or did you split that with, you referred to her as Stephanie, that's Stephanie Vocal, correct?
Correct.
Did you split that with Stephanie?
Typically, I paid most of the bills, but if I wasn't there and they needed to pay a bill, then Stephanie would pay it.
Did that include things like credit cards, OnStar, car payments, things like that, or was it strictly what we would consider business, so trucking, grain, that kind of stuff?
Both. So we would pay on the credit cards. Mom and Dale had their own personal bank accounts, and personal checks. So those ones that I would say were handwritten checks from their personal accounts, they would pay those themselves. But if it was pertaining to anything with the businesses, then typically we paid it. A lot of their personal expenses were also paid for with business credit cards. So like the OnStar, for instance, I believe was paid for with one of the credit cards.
The business credit cards?
Yes.
And then is this fair to say that your mom essentially would handle a lot of the office staff work and Mr. Warner would handle things that were going on outside of the office? So farming, the chemical company, things like that?
Correct. My mom would handle a lot of the customer stuff for the chemical fertilizer side of things, but Dale did as well.
So your mom would be...
But as far as
go
like
ahead.
the actual like farming day to day, getting in a tractor, that was all Dale.
That's
working with those employees, that was typically all Dale.
That's what I was just going to ask.
Yes.
So if a customer came in or called, that might be your mom. But if it was, plowing a field or planting, that would be Mr. Warner. Is that accurate?
Correct. My mom did, there was many times growing up that my mom was in a combine or in a piece of equipment driving and doing field work type things, but towards the end there, no.
So
that was all Dale.
She knew how to do it, but she
knew
didn't do
how, but that was not where she wanted to be.
And she also, did she grow up on a farm to your
did.
knowledge? And I was with cattle too, is that something that
She
your mom
did.
was interested in?
Yep, she was very involved in the 4-H kids, and we had cows growing up, I think, my whole life.
you had talked about your mom would keep her purse in the car. Is it fair to say your mom would have also cash stuffed in the car as well?
Yes.
Is it fair to say that your mom had money stuffed everywhere?
Yes.
Okay, 'cause that based on prior testimony, you had indicated that. So she'd have it like kind of squirreled away in pockets in the car and clutch and purse and all those sorts of things.
Yes.
And you indicated that it was not surprising to you when your mom would say, or when she did say she wanted to divorce Mr. Warner or leave Mr. Warner, leave the businesses, things like that, because she had said those things before.
Yes.
And had that been going on for a while?
It had become significantly worse the last couple of years. I would say somewhere between 2015 until 2021. It had gotten significantly worse.
Would, and correct me if I'm wrong, would she say it on one day and then 2 days later she would have a different plan? Or
I think the plan was always there, but I think there was always something in her trying to make it work. I know there was always a big fear of...
I'm going to stop you right there, though, only because that goes far afield of my question.
Oh,
so,
sorry.
okay, no, that's okay. So, would the plan change? And if you don't know, it's okay to say no.
I couldn't answer that, no.
Okay. So let me ask you this. If she would say, for instance, on a Monday that she would want to leave, it sounds like for years she would say that, but she wouldn't leave, except for short periods of time. Is that accurate?
Yes.
And you indicated that your mom would leave the house for a day or two, and that was a regular occurrence.
Define regular.
Sure. I guess so. It wasn't surprising to you when she would show up at your house and want to stay there for a day or two?
Well, I mean, it was always a surprise, but, I mean, it was one of those things that when it happened, I wasn't like, oh, what are you doing here? It was, oh, okay, hi.
Come on
And
in.
continue about the day.
Okay. And I guess when I say regular occurrence, I should ask you, in a year's time, how many times do you think she did that?
In a year's time, 10?
And is that pretty much on average, you think?
There would be, I mean, there was times that it was more, there was times that it was less.
Did your mom, you talked about an issue that she had been having with employee, is that accurate?
Yes.
Was that common or uncommon for your mom to have that kind of an issue with a staff member?
To the extent of what this fight was uncommon. She definitely would get into it with the employees about certain things sometimes, but nothing like what this one was. This one was very different.
What about, so she had conflict with Mr. Warner, she had conflict with staff, again, the last one was more significant. What about other family members? Any conflicts there? Or?
I mean, she'd get into fights with, I think, just about anybody. Mom stood up for what she believed in. And if your opinion was different than hers, then sometimes that wasn't gonna, she was gonna have her opinion and you were gonna hear it.
She'd let you know, it sounds like?
She'd let you know.
Okay. In a raised voice, it sounds a little bit?
It could be.
Now, on April 25th, 2021, you indicated that when you arrived, the Hummer you said was in front of the office.
Correct.
Did you use your key to enter the office?
I can't remember if I used my key or if the office was open.
Then, correct me if I'm wrong. So, Ms. Saylor, can you put up Exhibit A? And then, can you call out or point to where the office is? So, see, it looks like there's like almost like a barn, which is, and then the two doors. Is that where the office is?
Correct. So the right there in the middle of that stretch of barn is the main office door. The door all the way to the right would be going into Todd's office. So I enter through that middle door.
And you don't recall if that door was unlocked or locked?
I can't. I had a key. I could have used my key, but to tell you right now, if I used it, I couldn't tell you.
And I know we're going back almost 5 years. So then you said you went to outside of Terry Narink's truck?
Correct.
And you ultimately went inside just to see if his belongings were there. Where was that truck parked?
So that the behind the house, the barn that's directly behind the house there,
Is
see
that,
there's,
I don't want to interrupt, but for a minute, is that the fertilizer barn?
that would be the dry fertilizer barn,
Okay, the
yes.
dry fertilizer barn. Can you zoom in on that, Ms. Saylor?
So to the left of that barn there, you can see a semi-trailer, just the trailer. His truck was essentially parked right there.
And then that's where you went and took a look and you ran into Mr. Warner.
I ran into Mr. Warner there's a concrete slab that is right in front of the barn, I guess I'd say. And that's where I ran into Dale.
So when you were outside looking at Mr. Nahrink's truck, did you hear the sprayer in the background?
I don't recall.
Would looking at a copy of your preliminary examination transcript help refresh your memory?
Sure.
Thank you. Ms. Saylor, would you go to page 44, please? Did that refresh your memory, Mr. Bock?
Yes.
Thank you. So did you hear the sprayer when you were at Mr. Nahrink's truck?
To tell you today, I can't tell you that. At the time, I very well could have. But once again, telling you that today, that was 5 years ago.
You don't dispute that. You testified under oath that you did hear it, though, correct?
I don't dispute that.
And just to be clear, the sprayer is a piece of farm equipment,
Yes.
pretty big green color.
Yes.
And then it sprays, for some people who didn't grow up on a farm, it sprays chemicals and fertilizer and things like that.
Yes.
Does it have a distinctive sound?
It almost has like a humming sound to it.
A sound that you recognized having sort of
Yes.
grown up on the farm?
Yep.
Thank you. Now, when you saw ultimately Mr. Warner, he asked you if you really didn't know where your mom is, correct?
Correct.
I have no additional questions. Thank you.
So you were asked if it was common for your mom to take off for a night or two, correct?
Yes.
Had you ever called 911 or called the police to report your mom missing prior to the 25th of April 2021?
No, never.
Okay. And have you talked to your mom since April 24th, 2021?
No.
Okay. You talked about your mom was expressing her frustration with this employee situation at the business on Friday night, Saturday night? Which one was it?
So if the 25th was the Sunday, then the 24th.
The 24th, okay. And was it, was the fight about an employee, or was it about the way Dale was responding to Dee that angered her?
Objection calls for hearsay unless Mr. Bock was present for the argument.
If you know.
So the fight with the employee was actually about
Okay, I'm
Wait,
sorry, but
wait.
we need to establish a foundation before he's gonna testify about this.
Yeah, okay. Were you present for any of the fight?
No.
Okay, all right. When you were on the farm on the 25th, where were you at when Dale asked you if your mom was really at your house?
We were standing on that concrete pad in front of that barn.
Okay, so that was almost immediately that you were asked that?
Yes.
All right. And during this conversation, did you ask Dale if he looked in the caddy at all?
I can't recall exactly what all we had talked about. There was a couple of questions that he had asked me. One, if I knew where Mom was and everything when we were standing there on that concrete slab. I hadn't been in the house, but whatever reason, we had said something that made me want to go to the office.
Okay.
That's why I had gone to the office rather than walking into the house. So the both of us had actually walked down to the office together.
Okay.
I mean, not, side by side, but he was right behind me and we walked into the office together at the same time.
Do you remember if at the office or when you guys met out on that concrete pad, did you guys talk about money taken from the safe?
There was a conversation about money taken from the safe. I believe it would have been about that same time because the only time that we had talked otherwise was inside the office, and that was about the ring.
Okay. And what did Dale tell you?
That there was a bunch of money taken from the safe inside the house.
Okay. And did he give you an amount?
He did, but I can't recall the exact number. It was a big number because I remember being very upset about the fact that they had as much money in the safe in the house that they did when I was struggling to be able to pay the bills for the company.
Okay. When you say big number,
I don't know if he told me 100,000, but 100,000 is the number that's coming to mind.
okay. All right. I have nothing further.
Nothing additional, thank you.
Council approach, please.
Yes.
All right, we did get two questions from the jury. I have reviewed those with council. It's my understanding that council has a little bit of agreement with asking both of those questions. Is that accurate?
That's correct, Your Honor.
That's correct, Your Honor.
Okay. Mr. Bock, so the first question is, any animosity between Dale and Zack before Dee went missing?
Yes.
The second question is, how was the relationship between Dale and Zack prior to Dee missing?
We spoke about work-related things, and that was it.
All right, Ms. Wise, any further questions for Mr. Bock based on those questions?
Yes. You indicated that there was some tension between you and Dale after your mom went missing?
Yes.
Wasn't the question before?
It was
Sure.
both.
So the first question was, any animosity between Dale and Zack before Dee went missing? The second question was, how was the relationship between Dale and Zack prior to Dee missing?
Oh,
So I
I
think
apologize.
they're
I
both
thought one
before.
was, I thought one was after. Okay, I have nothing further, Your Honor.
I have nothing, thank you.
Okay. Are there any further questions? And again, don't blurt them out, just raise your hand if any of the jurors would like to ask additional questions. Okay. Not seeing any positive responses. Can we excuse Mr. Box from his subpoena at this point?
I would reserve the right to recall him.
Okay. So, Mr. Bach, you will still then be subject to the sequestration order. Have you received a copy of that?
Yes.
Okay. So you need to continue to abide by that until you're notified that you're released from it. Okay. You can go ahead and step down.
Can you just clarify, is the prosecutor indicating that he may be called in rebuttal?
Correct.
Okay, Sure, I just didn't know if there was gonna be a,
No,
okay.
no,
So then that would prevent him from being here then for the number of weeks. Okay, thank you.
thank you.
Okay.
It wouldn't, I'm gonna make my argument.
Okay.
All right, so let's break for lunch, and we'll resume again at 1:30 PM. So members of the jury, please try to be here just before, and we'll do our best to get started as quickly as we can.